Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, working longer hours than everyone else, answering emails at midnight, skipping meals, sacrificing sleep, and yet somehow you still feel stuck? Maybe you've watched coworkers grow faster. Maybe you've seen people with fewer hours, less stress, more success, and you quietly wonder, what am I doing wrong? Because society teaches us one dangerous belief, that the harder you work, the more successful you'll become. But what if working harder is actually the reason you're stuck? Today's story is about a man who dedicated his life to helping others, a man respected by his community, a man who believed exhaustion was proof of dedication, until one moment forced him to face a painful truth. Stay with me until the end, because this story might completely change how you look at productivity, success, and even your self-worth. In a busy suburban city lived a 38-year-old primary care physician named Dr. Adrian Malik. Dr. Malik was known as the doctor who never said no. He arrived at the clinic before sunrise and often left long after sunset. He saw more patients than anyone in his practice. If someone needed last-minute help, he stayed. If another doctor called in sick, he covered their shift. If a patient messaged him late at night, he responded immediately. His colleagues admired him. His patients adored him. And Dr. Malik wore his exhaustion like a medal of honor. His wife Lena, however, saw something else. One evening, as Adrian sat at the dinner table scrolling through patient charts, barely touching his food, Lena quietly asked, "Adrian, when was the last time you actually rested?" Without looking up, he replied, "Patients depend on me. I can rest later." But later never came. In the same clinic worked another physician, Dr. Elena Torres. She was younger, worked fewer hours, never stayed past 5 in the evening, and took vacations regularly, and yet her patient outcomes were consistently better. She earned higher satisfaction ratings, fewer complications, and recently, she was promoted to medical director. This confused Adrian deeply. He worked nearly 70 hours every week. Elena worked about 40. Still, she was succeeding faster. Adrian convinced himself. She must just be lucky. Then, one winter morning, everything changed. Adrian had worked 16 hours the day before. He slept barely 4 hours. He skipped breakfast. By mid-morning, he was rushing through patient charts, trying to keep up with his overloaded schedule. And that is when it happened. He overlooked a small but critical lab result. The mistake was caught later, thankfully, before serious harm occurred. But it shook him deeply. That afternoon, hospital administration called him in, not to punish him, but to talk. The medical director spoke gently. "Dr. Malik, you're one of our most dedicated physicians." He paused. "But you're also one of our most overwhelmed." For the first time in years, Adrian felt fear, not fear of failure, fear that his dedication was becoming dangerous. That evening, Adrian sat in his car in the hospital parking lot. Unable to start the engine, he noticed Elena walking toward her vehicle. On impulse, he stepped out. "Elena, can I ask you something honestly?" She smiled warmly. "Of course." Adrian hesitated. "I work nearly double your hours, but you outperform me. How?" Elena thought for a moment, then said something Adrian would never forget. "Because I stopped trying to do everything myself." Over coffee, Elena explained 3 principles that changed her career. First, systems beat sacrifice. She showed Adrian how she used automated charting tools, voice-to-text documentation, and patient questionnaires completed before appointments. Tasks that took Adrian hours every day took her minutes. "You're working harder because your system is slower," she explained. Second, focus creates excellence. Elena specialized deeply in chronic care management. Instead of trying to handle every medical issue, she mastered a few high-impact areas. Adrian accepted every patient case type, constantly switching focus, never mastering any. Depth creates authority, she told him. Scattered effort creates exhaustion. Third, rest is a performance tool. She explained how sleep, exercise, and time with family improved her diagnostic accuracy. When my brain is rested, I see patterns faster, she said. You cannot make sharp decisions with a dull mind. The next week, Adrian made uncomfortable changes. He reduced his patient load slightly. He invested in digital workflow tools. He hired part-time administrative help. At first, he felt guilty, like he was betraying his work ethic. But something unexpected happened. His mistakes decreased. His energy improved. His patient satisfaction rose. And slowly, his life returned. He began having dinner with Lena again. He started sleeping 8 hours. For the first time in years, he felt proud, not of how much he endured, but of how well he performed. 6 months later, Adrian's performance ranked among the highest in his hospital network. Not because he worked more hours, but because each hour carried more clarity, more focus, more precision. One evening, he thanked Elena. She smiled and said, "You didn't stop working hard, Adrian. You finally started working intelligently." Adrian's story is not about medicine. It's about a lie many of us believe, that exhaustion equals commitment, that burnout equals success. But here is the truth most people discover too late. Hard work builds the foundation. Strategy builds the future. Remember 3 things. Build systems before you build stress. Focus beats busyness. Protect your energy, because exhaustion is hidden debt. Here is your challenge. This week, identify one task that drains most of your time. Ask yourself, can this be automated, delegated, simplified? Spend 1 hour improving your system, instead of 5 hours repeating the same struggle, because you are not designed to run until you break. You are designed to think, adapt, and create leverage. Stop swinging the dull axe. Start sharpening it. If this story spoke to you, like the video, share it with someone who needs permission to work smarter, and comment below, what task are you going to optimize this week? I will see you in the next story.